going to talk a little bit about improving developer experience with LiveDashboard, and that might be a little bit of a misnomer. This came up a little late. I was a late addition to the roster here for ElixirConf EU, and so this is not going to be the longest talk in the world. It's also not going to be the most technical talk in the world. So if you were looking for like really in-depth technical things about, say, LiveView channels or what have you, channels specifically, I'd say jump over to Steven's talk in the other track, because I know it's going to be a really good one. So with that in mind, I'm going to talk a little bit about how we got here, how we got to having a live dashboard and what made that possible. So this is my talk, improving developer experience with Phoenix Live Dashboard, and Elixir love story. And it starts, if I can click, thousands of years ago. Not really. Late October, which feels like thousands of years ago at this point. Late October, I was up way too late one night listening to a podcast where Chris McCord was speaking about plans for LiveView moving into the future. And we had just come off of ElixirConf US last October, or it was earlier than that, but which was right after I had started at Dockyard, which I started last summer, late July. And so I was feeling really great. I was in an awesome place. I had just started this awesome job. I was getting to work with amazing people and professionals in the industry and doing really cool, awesome things. And I was listening to this talk, and Chris said that he wanted to build a telemetry dashboard. And I was really excited about that. I remember just sitting on my porch and thinking, man, that sounds so cool. I love things like that. I love New Relic. I love, other services and to do application performance monitoring and all that kind of stuff. And I was like, man, I'd love to help. I would just love to get involved. And so, given that Chris works at Dockyard, I was able to reach out internally, and I started pestering him about it for a little while. Try not to be too pestering, but I just let him know that I was really interested in helping out. Wanted to know if there's anything I could do, write documentation, test, just anything at all. And he, graciously offered to let me get involved and asked if I wanted to come to, jump on a call with some of the other core team members and chat a little bit about what the plans were for the telemetry integration, meaning like a telemetry dashboard, something more UI based for people to use. Turns out Chris was sick that day. So as I sit on the phone call with the rest of the members of the core team, and we're kind of discussing what the plans are and the direction we might want to move, I expressed my interest in the project and gave a couple of thoughts of my own. And then Jose asked me, he said, do you want to build it? And I said, sure, I would love to build it. That sounds amazing. And as we started planning it and thinking about it and figuring out what it was going to be, I made a comment at one point where I said, if we build this thing on the front end, meaning if we put too much of it on the client side, you're all going to call us hypocrites. And I believe that to be true. And so I convinced them that we should move forward with the telemetry integration using LiveView and build a live dashboard. And I immediately regretted it. Oh, I got ahead of myself. And we'll come back to this one because I immediately regretted it because I hit on an issue that I'm certain other people have experienced, where suddenly I had these messages coming down the wire. I was getting these telemetry messages, and I wanted to send them to the client. I wanted to be able to render them on the dashboard in a chart, and I didn't immediately know how I was supposed to do that. I thought to myself, I said, well, for the channel, I can just listen, I can get a callback in my JavaScript. How do I do that? So I reached out and I asked, and I went the wrong way again. And I got a response. And the response I got was similar to this one, but it wasn't this one. Actually, that was the response Chris gave to somebody else yesterday in the Elixir chat about a similar issue. So this comes up quite frequently, and it's definitely something that we're still looking at within LiveView proper. But the truth is that the structure for LiveView is that events go in and HTML comes out, right? So that being said, there isn't a side loaded mechanism beyond using another channel. I didn't take that route with LiveDashboard, at least for the moment. But so this is the advice I got back was put it in the HTML, basically. We can put it into the DOM. So that's what we did. And in that vein, and I'll run back here, on a call, a later call, as I was talking to Chris and Jose, and we were planning out how some of these things were going to work, there was a quote that really stuck with me. I can't for the life of me remember what we were talking about, what the actual technical, aspect was, or the problem we were trying to solve, but there was an idea put forward, and I think Jose had a thought for how we could go about doing something. Chris kind of had a funny look on his face. I was just, a fly on the wall. I was just listening, trying to understand, get a better handle on what the plan was. And there's Chris kind of gave Jose a funny look, and he said, "Well, how's that gonna work?" And Jose's response, I will never forget it, was, "Well, it will work because we will make it work." And it was definitely at that moment that I knew I was working with the right people, because that's definitely the mentality I would take with the idea of, again, improving developer experience. We're going to do what we need to do to make it work, to bring a better product to the table. So as we figured out how to make it work, I got over my little hump here, and I started putting my data into the DOM, and we got to our very first implementation. So this was the very first screenshot or GIF rather that I shared of an implementation for the dashboard. This was back mid-November last year. And you can see it's pretty basic. And if you've seen LiveDashboard today, you'll know that this is a far cry from where we are now. And so, but we started here, and it was very exciting. It was very exciting to see where this was going to go. We were able to set up a plugin to forward requests into a live view. We were able to piggyback off of the existing socket without requiring a lot of additional setup, to get the dashboard up and running. And this was kind of the start of that. So this was a really exciting time. I was very excited. It was done with a relatively small amount of code, actually, to get this going. So that was kind of the start of the whole thing for me. And so I got the ball rolling. I started making some code, and I learned something very quickly, which is that distributed teams are great. They're super great, because you can start a project. You can wake up the next morning. You can start a project and it can look like this. You can wake up in the morning and it looks like this. And it's an unbelievable feeling to be able to get to that place. And I really do have to thank, and I apologize for, I don't want to butcher the pronunciation of your name, but Archdragon, I'll get up all of the work that you've done, if you're watching, if you're online, for the styles and the UI here with the dashboard has just been amazing. Thank you so much. It is amazing. So much work has went into this thing from so many different angles, and I have just had so much fun being able to build this project. So when you're working with a distributed team, and you can wake up in the morning and you have a layout on your application, and it actually looks like something, and it doesn't just look like the the boilerplate that you put together. It's an amazing feeling. And sometimes you wake up and your app is distributed, and that is a really amazing feeling, because that's something I'm still getting used to. I've been working in Elixir for 3 or 4 years now, but as I think probably a lot of us have experienced, OTP and a lot of the really amazing things about this ecosystem that we work in are not always the things that we first, that we immediately jump to, or that we immediately need to grab to use within our day-to-day work. If you're coming in and you're working on Phoenix and you're building a web app, and from wherever you've come from, whatever other language or what have you, it's a different paradigm. It's a different way of looking at things. Having concurrency built in changes the way you do things. And so it's something I'm still learning about, still getting to know more about. I took Chris Keithley's training on distributed things last ElixirConf, and that was amazing. So just continuing to learn more in that area. But when you wake up in the morning and your app is distributed, that is an awesome feeling. Sometimes you wake up and there's a request logger. There's brand new features. You can now trace your application requests in production, separate from your logging, or in a separate window from the rest of your logs. Makes it very easy to find things. And that was an amazing feeling. And sometimes you wake up and you check Twitter to see if people are talking about your as yet released dashboard project. And sometimes you find them talking about it. And sometimes they say, Jose's code is beautiful. And sometimes their only response back to that is, well, you know, jealousy. No, not at all. Because the truth is this is my favorite commit. This of the whole project to date, and probably forever, this was my favorite commit. And the result of that commit was this. This project has been really important to me, and I know that it may sound kind of funny. It's, you know, it's a dashboard. It's just a tool. But it's been a long time coming for me. It's been something that I've wanted to, working on something with the aim of improving developer experience is definitely been a goal of mine for a long time. And when you're doing work that is primarily, you know, if you're building applications and you're you know, working on those kind of things all the time, sometimes it's easy to get kind of, for me anyway, it's easy to kind of get a little disillusioned. It's easy to wonder why, you know, why am I building this thing? What purpose does it serve? You know, who will it help? Who will it benefit? And I've known for a long time that the folks that I would like to benefit the most are y'all, are other developers. You know, they're the people that I associate the most with. They're the ones that I feel like I understand the best, because, you know, we're all in this together. And so I love building tools. I love programming. I love doing this kind of work, but I really love building things that I know will bring other people joy and will benefit their lives in some kind of way. Sorry. So this project truly was made with love. This was a love letter to the community, if you will. That sounds really sappy, but it's true. And I was unbelievably excited to see all of the, just like, I don't know, excitement from the community as well around the project as we released it. So, and that was, I mean, ultimately that was the goal, because LiveDashboard was built for you. LiveDashboard is a tool to improve your developer experience. And developer experience was definitely a concept that continued to come up throughout this process as we work towards building this thing. You know, Chris talked about developer experience during that initial podcast. You know, Jose made some early improvements to the application to bring better developer experience for those who was building the dashboard. So developer experience was important even in the process of building this application. Other changes throughout the ecosystem, you know, to improve developer experience, I think are really important, because the more that we can feel good about the work that we're doing, feel confident in the work that we're doing, the better the work is going to be. So LiveDashboard was built for you, but more importantly, more relevantly, LiveDashboard was built by you. So I was very excited to get the ball rolling. Chris McCord at one point told me that, you know, this was a project that they've been wanting to get off the ground for years, and I had no idea. So that was very exciting. I just wanted charts and graphs. So I was very excited to be able to play a part in something that had been, you know, a concept for a long time, something that had been in the works, had been a desire to have as part of the ecosystem for a long time. And now we're there, but we're not done. And we need to know where we're going to go next. But LiveDashboard was built by you. Even before our initial release, you know, Benjamin came in and helped me completely rewrite the chart library. That first graphic I showed you, that was chart.js. You know, Benjamin came in with Lost Overclock, came in and had a lot of insight into issues with chart.js. And I had an inkling, I had a funny feeling that we might run into some of those problems. But we, you know, it was our 0.1. We wanted to see where we could go. But even prior to that, you know, he definitely pointed out that you know, we were going to run into, brought his expertise to the table, said we were going to run into some performance issues, and he was 100% right. And so we were able to swap that out for uplot and got a lot of help actually in that process from the creator of the uplot library as well. So if you're looking for charts and graphs for another project or another reason, absolutely check out the uplot library. It is fantastic. If you're looking for recommendations for server-side chart rendering, talk to me too. I can help out there. Convex is the place to start. Wojtek came in and added process searches after Jose had already added the processes table. So out of the box, we had processes. You could list your processes out and get some information. You could use the request logger to see some to scope down log data to a particular request, try and do some debugging or what have you. And you could get telemetry metrics in charts and graphs on the dashboard. So that was 0.1, and that was mid-April. And it seems weird to think it was only that long ago that we first pushed this out here. But within that amount of time, we saw ETS tables, ports, sockets, applications, OS mod, environment keys, and an application, full-blown application, observer like trees. And that was all you. That was entirely community-driven effort. And this is not represent the sum total of the work done in the dashboard. These are just the major features. And I had no idea. I figured people would like it. I assumed that you would use it because we put it in the Phoenix generator, but I had no idea how much, just the outpouring of contribution that we would see right off the bat for this project and for this tool. And it has been absolutely great. We've got folks who have just jumped in and helped out with everything that you could imagine. There's all kinds of work still being done in different areas related to metrics and related to just improving the tool and its functionality across the board. And the question that we need to pose, and it's one that I truly can't answer. So it is a question that I'm posing to y'all, and that's what's next. We've talked a little bit internally about what we think makes sense to do. There's been some discussion about some form of debugging, so whether that's tracing something related to exceptions. Don't have a clear picture of exactly what that will be just yet, but we know we'd like to see something along those lines. There's still work being done in the telemetry area. I know we've got someone is working currently on bringing distribution metrics in, because that's one place where I kind of we didn't get that out for the 0.1, and frankly, I just haven't gotten back to it. So I was happy for the help. So we're getting towards having full coverage of all the metrics within the dashboard. And what comes next is really up to you. We want to see what the community wants to see from their online tools. And the dashboard gives us a place to be able to incorporate some web-based access to information that you might not be able to readily get a hold of otherwise. Whether the difficulty in connecting an observer session to your remote systems is just too much that you don't do it. So we kind of have to you have to fly blind with something that you're doing, or if it's a matter of adding a lot of additional log debugging sorts of things, having to push that to production. Hopefully you can avoid some of those things by utilizing the dashboard and bring some of these tools and introspection abilities to your production environment to make it easier to figure out, to determine problems, bottlenecks, what have you. But what we do next really is a question that I want to pose to the community, and I want to see where we can take things and what will improve developer experience for all of you. So with that said, I'm going to stop my presentation here. I will do a quick, tiny demo of the dashboard for those of you who haven't seen it. And then whatever amount of time I have left, I would be happy to spend answering questions. if there are any. So what I'm going to do here is actually just, this is the dashboard project itself. Let me make sure I'm up to date here, and I'm going to just run mixed dev. So if you clone the repo, have it set up and run mixed dev, then you can run the dashboard locally for testing. And so here it is. So we can see, you know, on the home page here, we've got baseline system information that would come out, same as you get out of an IEX call or just an Elixir call. We've got the, you know, versions of the primary tools here, some data in and out, run queue lengths, environment keys. Thank you, Todd Rezadek, by the way. This was wonderful. This is the first in time that I personally have experienced putting something out there as a feature that would be nice to have and having someone else come and build it. So appreciate it. You can get, this is the metrics data. These are the charts and graphs. They are run from a telemetry module that in new Phoenix projects gets generated in your web module or web context. It is completely customizable. It is just telemetry metrics. We're not going to get any from here because I'm not making requests. But if we take a quick look at the, we can let this count up for a second. So these periodic measurements coming out of the VM happen every 5 seconds. We are measuring the, you know, current memory usage as a summary chart. So we're getting min-max averages for the values. We can just do counts of the run queue lengths, and we see we get summary values for those as well. The request log is a super, super handy feature that I'm pretty sure works even on this dev bit. So I can, if I just want to see the logs from, you know, the truth is with the dashboard, I don't know, we might not get a whole lot of data out because there's not a lot of requests being made. But if I hit, let's see, this page with, see if we get anything at all. There we go. So it's easier to see if I tear it apart here. And so I set a cookie. And so any request I make, even if I go start making requests, you know, I can make other requests here, and anything using the cookie, we'll see the logs show up over here. So super duper handy for being able to get down to the bottom of what might be causing an issue somewhere. We have application data with some of just the coolest stuff. This, if you want to see a look at the observer trees within the dashboard, it's pretty wild what you can get. So look, there's the dashboard itself. And yeah, so get an idea of running applications, get access to, you know, be able to see what's really running in terms of the supervision tree. You've got additional process data with search, as we saw. We have ports that are running. Hopefully I'm not exposing anything here that would be bad. Let's see, ETS and everything else. So, and I can't really show off because I'm just running this locally right now, but like, as I said, the dashboard itself is distributed out of the box. Anything that you have clustered in your Erlang cluster will show up here, and you can move in between those and take a look at the, you know, the metrics from your system. So, okay, that is it for me in terms of prepared things, but I am, like I said, more than happy to answer any questions there might be. You know, there had been discussion of an AMA earlier in the day or yesterday, but you know, being here on the West Coast US, you know, I just woke up right before I came to do this call. So yeah, didn't get an opportunity to do that, but I'd be happy to answer any questions I can now.
Thank you. This was awesome. Thanks, Michael.
Thank you.
We have a question here. Indeed, I will read it out loud. Would you say one could use LiveDashboard together with distributed tracing tools, such as Jaeger? Maybe they have different use cases?
You know, that's a really great question, and it is definitely something that we have discussed a little bit. And I'll be honest that I'm not. I have some I have a knowledge gap to close for myself in terms of distributed tracing, just to get a better understanding of how those tools work. But that was the impression I was getting from Chris McCord, was that would be the way to move forward, I believe. I'm sure he'll correct me if I misspoke, but yes, that would be the way to move forward, would be using the distributed tracing that is built into the Beam to be able to augment that for the dashboard.
Okay, and another one. So would you ship LiveDashboard together with your Phoenix application, or would you rather use this distributed feature of LiveDashboard so that it actually ships as a separate tool deployed separately from your production Phoenix system?
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny, so very early in this process, as we were building it out, Jose had made that comment too. He said, do we put it in the app, or is it, that we could make this distributed? And of course, that's not it's not my immediate area of expertise. It's definitely an area I'm still getting more comfortable with and understanding more about. So my first thought was, no, I'm just going to make it work here first. We'll get this working, and then we can talk about that. And of course, it wasn't actually that much more difficult than what I had already started putting together. But so I think the answer is, I believe both are fine. Like you absolutely could build out a node that was strictly going to run dashboard, put your authentication and what have you around it, and strictly make it available there. And I believe that would work fine, because there are any number of places where we go to get process info and what have you, like we ship that code RPC style to the node. So for the most part, I'm trying to think if there's any caveats to this, but for the most part, you should be able to get data out of a node that's not running the dashboard directly. So that should be fine to do. Hopefully that answers your question.
Yes, it did. We have one more question here. Is there support for adding custom tabs, custom information to the dashboard?
Not currently. Great question. So in terms of customization, we've discussed it. There are some open issues, I believe, in that area. So if someone's looking to, contribute, get involved, that might be something to take a look at. I know Jose started a little bit of work there to make sure that the tools, some of the component tools that we have built that do ship within the dashboard, would be available to work for, other tabs, other custom integrations that might come into play. So just still trying to figure out what that looks like. So it's still a little early. We want to make sure we, provide that if there's a good place to do it and a way to do it, safely and that doesn't require a lot of like super deep coupling into things, just because we would hate to break something after someone, built up a big custom tool around it. But I think it's definitely, there's potential for that as we move forward. And we've been trying to gear the tools or make sure that the utility modules or code, whether it's styles or what have you, that is in the dashboard is built in a way that's reusable. Most of the tabs are variations on a theme. Ports, ETS, sockets, and processes to some extent are effectively the same page with different data in them. So I think there's a lot of reuse that could be done there. And so I think you will see more of that as we move forward.